For years, he has demonstrated talent and skills. He's a rising filmmaker and one of our own. His passion for compelling storytelling is captivating. He believes in creating films with cinematic aesthetic. His characters have a depth and authenticity of voice. He is a filmmaker with passion for humanistic stories. Michael, where does your inspiration come from and how do you visualize films?
It differs based on the project or the specific experience. It can be something from reading a specific line in a book, which is how one of my latest pilots came about, or it could be seeing a certain image, which is something that related to a film that we're doing now. And literature definitely plays a big part in story ideas in my writing. Other films, obviously.
Traveling.
Traveling.
Because I know you travel a lot.
Yeah, traveling, experiencing different cultures, coming into contact with people and experiences that I normally wouldn't interact with here in LA definitely plays a big part in the stories I choose to tell. And inspiration can come from anything. And I think that's part of the great part of writing, is that the smallest thing can lead to, the kernel of an idea.
What's your approach to editing? Do you edit while shooting?
The editing process starts pretty much simultaneously with shooting. So while we're filming, the footage will be going to the editor, who will start cutting and assembling while we shoot. And the reason I like to work like that is because we can take a look at the footage, how it cuts together, how it seems, and see if sometimes you might be missing one shot or something that it's a simple pickup or you shoot while you're on set. But if you realize that later at a certain point, it costs a lot to go back and reshoot. And that's why I think assembling while filming is advantageous to our process.
What comes first? For you, of course, the script or the actor?
The script always comes first. Writing the story, the actors stem from the characters that are created. When I'm writing parts, I try and not focus on one particular actor. And the reason for that is if you end up not getting that actor, I think it tarnishes the part to some extent in your mind, because you have now locked yourself into that one specific performer. That's why I like to focus on the character as a whole, as a person, what makes them tick, their flaws, and that way it's not reliant on one actor. Then I think the next part of that job, the extension of writing, is finding the right actor or actress for the part. But I don't like to tie myself to one specific person before the project has even started, because I think you have to be open to the possibilities, and certain times an actor will bring something that you couldn't have imagined at all to a part, and if it's someone that you might initially think is completely wrong for the part, and they might be perfect for it. I just did a film in February where it was about a young deaf woman, and some of the choices that were written in the script, I was very confident that this is exactly how it had to be, and this was the reasoning for it. And I cast this very talented actress named TV Carpio, and when we got to set and we were filming, she started improvising and doing certain things that were completely different than what I had initially conceived and thought of, but it felt so right in the moment. We just kind of went with that, and the end result ended up being something so much more magical. And I think that's part of the freedom of not locking yourself into a specific outcome from the beginning. I think it's important to have a vision. You have to have a clear vision, but you also have to leave a little bit of room for adaptation, because a good actor or actress really can elevate the part and make it something that is just beyond what was written.
Michael, how did you start?
So actually, I started at a very young age. Film has always been a passion, and at about 8 or 9 years old, I started making little animated movies with my dad and his high camera. We started with stop motion films. We would make just crazy stories, and slowly from there it elevated to live action movies. And when I was 13, I decided I wanted to make my first feature, 90-minute movie. So I got together some of my friends from the 7th grade. I cast them in the parts. Again, on the same little camera, we went out, shot all around Glendale, and over our summer break, we just pretty much shot this 90-minute little movie that no one has ever seen after or will see because it's very bad, but it was my first kind of experience into trying to tell a complete story. And after that, I made another feature when I was in 9th grade called Midnight Murder. It was very noir influenced by films like Double Indemnity and The Maltese Falcon. And after that, I took a break from features and I did several shorts. And one of those shorts I did was called Subhuman in my senior year of high school. And it ended up getting a little bit of recognition, played the film festival circuit, sold for distribution, and I managed to sign with a management company because of that. And from there, I steered more towards writing for several years. I wrote a pilot at 19 called String, which sold to Fox Television, and that was my first foray into the professional realm. And I got a crash course in working with executives and producers and receiving notes for the first time and having to take input from other people, and it was a great learning experience. And after that, it's kind of been split between film and television, writing television pilots, writing features, and my feature film directorial debut is now, it's been in development for a while, and it's finally now in the final stages. It's called Forget Me Not, and it will be shooting early next year.
Յուրաքանչյուրիս ձևավորման վրա մեծ ազդեցություն ունի մեր ժառանգությունը, մեր ընտանիքը, մեր համայնքը։ Մենք իմաստավորում ենք կյանքը մեր ընկալումներով ու գործերով։ Գործեր, որ կապրեն դարեդար։ Մարդկային հիշողությունը իսկական պարգև է։ Ամեն մի կյանք ստեղծում է իր սեփական ուղին։ Glendale Funeral Home հաստատությունը պատրաստ է ցուցաբերել հատուկ ուշադրություն իր բազմազան ծառայությունների շնորհիվ։ International Families Association is a non-profit organization. Կազմակերպություն, որ տարիներ շարունակ ծառայում է ի նպաստ ցածր եկամուտ ունեցող ընտանիքների։ Յուրաքանչյուր երկուշաբթի եւ չորեքշաբթի օրերին կեսօրից հետո ժամը 2-ից 5-ը տրամադրվում է անվճար ուտելիք եւ այլ ապրանքներ։ Ընդունվում է ամեն տեսակի հովանավորություն։ Մանրամասների համար զանգահարել 818 770 0779 հեռախոսահամարով։ Ամեն լավագույնը հազվադեպ է։ Sunshine տարեցների կենտրոնում հոգատար եւ մասնագիտական խնամքն ու վերաբերմունքը կրկնակի լիցք են տալիս։ Ձեզ ապահովում ենք տրանսպորտային միջոցով, դիետոլոգի կողմից հատուկ վերանայված նախաճաշով եւ ճաշով։ Դուք ստանում եք բժշկական խնամք եւ ֆիզիոթերապիա։ Ունենք նաեւ սոցիալական ծառայություններ։ Հետաքրքիր ժամանցային ծրագրերով ձեր օրը դարձնում ենք լիարժեք։
Սպասում ենք ձեզ։ Ձեր առողջությունը մեր առաջնակարգ խնդիրն է։
Michael, what is your biggest inspiration, favorite directors?
I see cinema as the marriage between all the different art forms, painting, music, and that's why I think the inspiration for me comes from film itself, absolutely, but more so from also other art forms. Music in particular, whenever I'm writing, I will create a playlist for every project of specific soundtracks, songs, symphonies, just beats that I think are relevant to that project, and I will play that playlist constantly throughout the writing process, and I like to play it on set before I get to set and after to kind of place me in the mood, and sometimes I play it on set as well in between takes. Painting definitely is a huge inspiration for me. Visually, whenever I work with DPs beforehand, I'll pull out a bunch of images of paintings, artwork that I think visually are the language of that specific film, and that's a major communication tool for me when working with cinematographers. In terms of my favorite directors, probably no one has influenced me more than Scorsese. His films, I saw Goodfellas and Raging Bull at a very, very early age, way younger than I was to see it, and it left a huge mark on me, and just his wide range and his ability to move flawlessly between genres, whether it's King of Comedy or later on, The Wolf of Wall Street and The Aviator. Other major influences, I'm a huge fan of Hitchcock. I think Hitchcock is a master and pretty much the father of suspense in cinema, and his ability to use the visual language to set up so much without a single word is something that I definitely aspire to. And Fellini, obviously, is 8.5 and La Dolce Vita are two of my favorite movies of all time. And from the newer generation of filmmakers, Alejandro González Iñárritu, Christopher Nolan, and Paul Thomas Anderson are definitely, I think, some of the best filmmakers working today.
Do you prefer film over digital?
I prefer digital, and I know that's a controversial answer in some circles, and the reason I prefer digital is because I think it's more cost efficient, it's more flexible, especially on a lower budget level of filmmaking, which is something that I work in, and I think a lot of independent filmmakers work in. Film is a luxury, and I think digital has gotten so close in terms of image quality that a lot of world-renowned DPs themselves are finding it harder and harder to tell the difference. And I love film, it's great, and I love watching films projected in 35mm. I definitely think it's an experience, and there's a certain nostalgia quality to it that is definitely timeless. But from solely the perspective of getting films made, getting stories told, I think digital does the job just as well, and I prefer it.
Meine sehr geehrten Herren, dies ist aber noch gar nichts. Möchten Sie wirklich ein menschliches Tier sehen? Hierfür brauchen wir keine wissenschaftliche Einführung, da Sie es gleich mit eigenen Augen beobachten können. Was sagen Sie? Soldat! Bringen Sie uns einen rauf. Warten Sie bloß ab, bis Sie das gesehen haben. Was habe ich Ihnen gesagt? Schauen Sie sich mal dieses Tier an. Es ist dreckig und stinkt und er erinnert mich an einen Affen. Oder mehr wie ein Hund. Sie wissen ja, meine Herren, was man über den Russen sagt. Nämlich, dass Russen russische Bären gebären. Aber ich sehe nur ein dummes Schwein. Hey du! Ah, ich weiß. Sie trinken wie Tiere. Pej Wodka, Russiwan? Ty хочешь Wodka, ja? Zum Wohl. Kein Закуска?
Я после первого не закусываю.
Er isst nicht nach dem ersten.
Bravo, Russ! Я после второго тоже не закусываю.
Ja!
Van bonnen doet geer. Doe zaal.
Do you think indies get enough recognition?
I think the word indie and independent films has evolved greatly, especially in the last few years. I remember when I was 12, 13, an indie was Napoleon Dynamite or Super Size Me, which were these super tiny budget movies being made completely in the outskirts and away from the studio system. Now you have something like for example Moonlight, which is a fantastic film, and it's still low budget, but it's quite a remarkable film. And the word indie is changing. It's now, you can have $20 million indies, you have $15 million indies, and I think it's not the same it used to be. In terms of getting recognition, I think they are getting recognition. I think 90% of the films being made today that are worth watching are independent films. And it's become, for those who are, cinephiles and interested in real cinema, I think independent filmmaking is where the real art is being made. The studio system has become this kind of Coca-Cola machine of just turning out the same film over and over again. And if you want to see a real movie now, I think you have to leave the studio system and go seek it in the independent realm for the most part.
Actually, can't agree with you more. Michael, what is your take on the direction of the film industry?
Not to repeat what I said earlier about independent films, but I think we've come to a point in the way that films are financed that it's becoming about the bottom line, and a lot of stories that are important, that are bold, that are risky are not getting greenlit anymore. And it's hard to imagine films from that golden era in the 70s like Serpico or A Dog Day Afternoon or The Godfather or Chinatown getting made today. And the reason is they're not about hitting a mass audience. They're not about hitting certain demographics, certain numbers. They're about telling a new, fresh story. And I think sadly that's becoming diminished in the way that films are being greenlit, the films that are being approved to be made. Luckily, the flip side of that is we now have streaming services, and you have companies such as Netflix and Amazon that are coming in and financing these smaller and mid-range movies. The $5 to $15 million movie that's becoming slightly extinct. They're coming in and swooping in and making these movies that you normally wouldn't get financed. So I think it's definitely a brave new world, and we're going to see a lot of changes over the next 10, 15 years in terms of the way that films are financed, distributed, and viewed. And I think it's an exciting time.
Michael, how important is creative freedom to you?
Very. I think if you don't fight for your vision, your ideas, and how you see the final product being, it's very easy, especially in the way that the film industry works. There's usually many different hands in the pot, so to speak. You have producers giving you notes, you have executives giving you notes, you have actors who have their own ideas, and I think if you don't have that creative freedom to a certain extent and you don't fight for what you believe, then it's very easy for the film to get muddied and to become something very different than what you envisioned. And sometimes it's good, improv and certain situations, and there are good notes from producers, but other times you have to pick your battles and fight for the ones that you know you're right, because if you don't, then why are we doing this?
Ամեն լավագույնը հազվադեպ է։ Sunshine տարեցների կենտրոնում հոգատար եւ մասնագիտական խնամքն ու վերաբերմունքը կրկնակի լիցք են տալիս։ Ձեզ ապահովում ենք տրանսպորտային միջոցով, դիետոլոգի կողմից հատուկ վերանայված նախաճաշով եւ ճաշով։ Դուք ստանում եք բժշկական խնամք եւ ֆիզիոթերապիա։ Ունենք նաեւ սոցիալական ծառայություններ։ Հետաքրքիր ժամանցային ծրագրերով ձեր օրը դարձնում ենք լիարժեք։
Սպասում ենք ձեզ։ Ձեր առողջությունը մեր առաջնակարգ խնդիրն է։
Յուրաքանչյուրիս ձևավորման վրա մեծ ազդեցություն ունի մեր ժառանգությունը, մեր ընտանիքը, մեր համայնքը։ Մենք իմաստավորում ենք կյանքը մեր ընկալումներով ու գործերով։ Գործեր, որ կապրեն դարեդար։ Մարդկային հիշողությունը իսկական պարգև է։ Ամեն մի կյանք ստեղծում է իր սեփական ուղին։ Glendale Funeral Home հաստատությունը պատրաստ է ցուցաբերել հատուկ ուշադրություն իր բազմազան ծառայությունների շնորհիվ։
For advertising on Insight TV, please call 818-653-0199.